Basketball Manitoba podcast, we have Lenin Mangaron. He is a graduate of Oak Park High School, where he was named All-Manitoban and played for the provincial team for 4 years. He then went on to play at the University of Manitoba, where he was named GPAC All-Star. He later transferred to the Brandon Bobcats for 1 year. His teams were some of the first to break into the NABA and FBA scenes out of Winnipeg. After college, he played semi-professionally in the Philippines, but after finishing his playing career, he transitioned to coaching, a role he's had for 23 years. He got his start with JV basketball at Elmwood and has coached at various levels from high school to club basketball throughout the years. He's been a leading figure in the program at Sargent Park School, where they won many provincial championships over the years. There, he was awarded co-coach of the year. He's coached at the provincial team level as an assistant coach 1 time and as head coach 3 times. And he's currently the 15U male head coach for 2024. Lenin, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Darcy. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. So, I've known you over the years just because, basketball figure. I know, obviously when I was at WNBA and doing my own club thing, you had the hot shots. But well before that, I heard your name all the time, mainly from Coach Cassano, who would bring you up as literally one of the greatest players in high school that he's ever coached. And he would talk about you all the time. And because obviously, he was my coach and later on Basketball Manitoba, and you'd always bring your name up. But I don't think I've ever played against you. I don't even think I've ever seen you play. I've only seen you as a coach, but I just always remember him talking about you. So it's just super cool to sit down with you, hear more about your story and kind of what's brought you to this point.
Oh, that's good. Mr. Cassano, one guy definitely that definitely is I'd like to say he's one of my advocates, I guess. He's definitely come a long way, and myself with him. We go way back, and he's one of the figures that I definitely looked up to throughout my basketball career. So it's nice to hear him. And then he's obviously no stranger to the basketball world in Manitoba. And it's nice to have a guy like that on your side. So
for
very
sure.
thankful to have him in my life anyway. So
for sure. Absolutely. I got to interview him earlier in the podcast, and, sitting down with him is always a pleasure. He's one of those guys that always makes you feel good. And so it was really cool to hear, obviously, him talk about some of the teams that, some of the teams that he coached while you were playing as well. Great guy. Would love to interview him 3-4 more times because he probably has a million more stories to tell. So
that's for sure.
Yeah. But so how's I know right now we're actually in the midst of provincial team 2024 summer. How's everything been going so far?
So far, so good. I don't know if you've heard, but we had a record-breaking 180 kids that came out for this team. So,
wow.
Yeah, that was unreal. I was pretty overwhelmed with the amount of talent that we had come out, and it was hard. It was difficult. It was difficult to choose from those kids, and we had a couple days to narrow it down. It wasn't easy. Trust me. Including the selection committee, we were battling and figuring things out of who to keep and who we should and who should move forward. So it was definitely hard to do, but and I think we made the right decision. This weekend we were at Brandon, so that was really our first official game. So we played against Saskatchewan for a couple of times, and we became victorious for those 2 games. And the kids played well, played hard defense, and I think that's where that's our key strength is playing really good defense. Because we're not, we were decent size, but it'll be interesting to see them play against the top, the top teams later on. So, but Saskatchewan was very good. I know the score didn't show, but I know they weren't showing their full load of arsenals, and they'll be in our pool for the nationals. So it'll be interesting to see what they come up with. So it's going to be a totally different team.
Yeah,
right? We played in the first time.
For sure. What other competitions do you guys have going on outside of that? Like, do you bring in people? Are you just competing against yourselves? Or you bringing in older club teams? What do you guys do?
Yeah, actually, right now we brought in an older team. We have what's called the Vegas team for the Filipino All-Star team. Okay. There's a sort of a recruiting tournament in July, mid-July in Vegas that's happening, and it's the best 18U and 16U groups that'll be playing against the best from North America. So there's only 4 teams, and what happens in that group is that the national team coach from the Philippines is coming to recruit for those age groups.
Okay.
So it's a Filipino team. So we have them, come out to play against us, and that's with Coach Champ from BTB Hoops. That come, he had the. It was good for him to agree to play against us, because they have really good players, and we've actually added a couple of provincial team players on there too, just to give us the height as well. As you know, Filipinos aren't the tallest people, and unfortunate, but very skilled. But we did that, and it has been awesome. Like the past couple games have definitely made us better. Made us see what we lacked with and what we needed to add and so forth. So it's really good. So as of right now, we were trying to get them, to play against us a couple times, and hopefully we're looking at playing maybe the 16U group as well for the Manitoba games.
Nice.
So that's something that we're looking forward to as well.
Awesome. No, that's super good. That's awesome. So for the provincial team, so are you guys going to be? Is this year Canada Games, or is that next year?
No, it's next year. Next year's Canada Games.
Okay. And so this you're going to be on for 2 more years. Is that the deal? Like this year and next year? Or is it just this year?
No, just this year.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I guess because you're the 15U level.
Yeah. So the 16. I mean, yeah, the 17U now. Oh, is it 16U?
16. Yeah. Whoever's. Yeah. So then, nationals, where are they this year?
It'll be in Toronto this year.
Okay. Cool. Sweet. Who's the host? What is it? Do you know?
I think it's York University.
York. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good experience. Super good experience. Now, I know obviously we talked in the bio, you played for many years, so you have your own provincial team, and we were talking offline. I was just mentioning, whenever I do this podcast, I get to reminisce my own days when I ask the questions. I'm like, oh yeah, provincial team was pretty cool, or hey, that person was my coach. And so I want to jump into your story and find out more about kind of how you got to this point in your basketball journey. And so I always like to start off the podcast when it comes to asking the personal story, is starting off with the first memories of basketball. So when, if I ask you that, hey, what are your first memories of basketball? How'd you get involved? What comes to mind?
You know what? I'd really have to go back. When I first started would be probably grade 7, or maybe, grade 7, like just before grade 7, that summer, from the transition between grade 6 and grade 7, I used to go to Hugh John McDonald, and this is where all the fun basketball happened for me, to be honest with you, because that's when you grew up with the boys. I came in as an immigrant from the Philippines when I was in grade 4, and then I grew up in the hood, grew up in downtown area, where I developed a lot of my friendships, long-term friendships to this day. We'd had groups of siblings that were similar ages, during those years, and it was super fun. We'd hang out all the time, mornings, lunches, afternoons. We'd play basketball in the outside, just and then watching our older brothers play. So that's what we do. The youngers, we were 2 years younger than them, so they'd be in grade 7s and 8s, and we grew up with them, and looking at them and watching them made me go like, hey, I want to do that. Right. And so every day we'd work on it. We breathe, sleep, ate basketball, like every day. We'd be on the courts, and we just playing hog. I don't know if you've ever played hog before.
Hold on, what's that?
Hog is just one against everybody.
Oh yeah. So like,
and if you get a basket,
like American 21 kind of thing. They call that American as well. Yeah.
And that's what we did. And we just played, right? So and then I remember walking into the classroom, and this is where it sort of grew a little bit more. We had a teacher by the name of Mr. Garth German. He came in and hey, And this guy was, he was pretty cool actually. At that time, you don't usually, see those from teachers that are usually serious, but, Mr. German was always a teacher who, you'd want to sort of please. Because right away he took interest in us, right? Hey, I'm going to be your basketball coach, right? And so you better join and so forth.
Yeah.
And he was our classroom teacher, and so really from there, I was drawn into the game, where he taught us the skills of the game, the basic skills of the game, and he always got involved, and he was there, and really cared about our development, and you can tell by him staying after schools and coaching us and really making sure that we're doing okay outside the home, and if we're really on top of our school as well, right? So that's really where I showed interest along with my peers, and we ended up winning back-to-back championships with that team.
Oh, no way.
It was for Hugh John McDonald. That was really neat, and to this day I have those guys. Most of the starting five I still know to this day, and we hang out still.
That's
right.
Cool.
So it's really nice. So that's what I mean by having that, that camaraderie, that build of sense of belonging, and it was awesome. And Mr. German had a lot to do with that. And to go off a little topic as well, but it came about that Mr. German ended up adopting me.
No way.
And, yes. So I ended up living with him.
Oh, wow. No way.
Doing well at home, and I ended up living in with his family, and I consider him as my dad today. So to be honest with you, and the family, and so it's been an awesome journey with that.
No way. Wow.
Yeah. So
that's so cool.
Oh, so yeah. So he obviously had a big part.
Yeah.
In my upbringing as a basketball player, and from there, that's when I ended up at Oak Park. So from Hugh John McDonald, I go to Oak Park because that's where he lived.
Got it.
Right?
Got it.
So he brought me there, and and it was really. And I remember this day that, he goes, "Okay, I think you're gonna have to go to Oak Park." And I go, "Well, okay," but all my friends are going to Daniel Mac or Tech Voc.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure. Oh, I wanted to go to Tech Voc, and you're gonna separate and so forth with your buddies. And I go, well, that's life, right? Like, and and it was the best thing, for me as well. I know that, and and he's always looked after my best interest. And that's when I got to meet Randy Casano. So that's how Randy and I started. We went out for I remember us, having a Slurpee, before I was going there, and he took me out and just talked, and you're right. Like, as soon as I met him, all positive things come out of his mouth, right? About this, and that's Randy.
Yeah.
Right. I don't think I've ever heard him talk negatively about anybody. No. Right. And he's just one of those guys to make feel good guys. Right. And he took me under his wing. I ended up playing varsity, in my grade 10 year. So he's him along with Klapik, Cakes, we call him. So those two were my high school coaches throughout my high school career. So, they were so wonderful. The both of them complemented one another. One was the mean guy, the other guy was sort of, well, actually, they're both mean. I'm going to be honest.
I was going to say,
Mr. Casano's not.
Casano, when he was coaching, was not always nice. After, maybe.
The things that they would do back in the day, it was, you'd never see the things that that they would do. But you know what? They were effective. Yeah. So, the things that they did was for me, it worked. Right. For others, it may not have. Yeah. Right. But there's those, it's always going to be like that. Yeah. Right. Yeah. But for me, it definitely worked. They I knew they had my back. I knew that, like I said, they had the best interest of the players every time. And I had no doubt in that. Yeah, right. Sure. And they would tell you, they were frank. They were frank. If you weren't doing well, they would tell you. And you'd have to step up. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And, and I think growing up in that area was a little different, from what I was used to. Sure. Basketball did a lot for me. Basketball was what got me through, those times. Just simply I grew up in that neighborhood of in the inner city, and they're all multicultural, right?
Mm-hmm.
Imagine this. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm used to hanging out with Vietnamese, Chinese,
Yeah.
Portuguese people, all of the above, right?
Yeah.
And then you go to a park.
Charleswood.
I swear to you, I've never, and I tell this to my friends and my family, everything. I go there, everybody's blonde hair, blue eyes,
Yeah.
brown hair, brown
Yeah.
eyes, like
Yeah.
everyone was white,
Yeah.
right? And that was different for me.
Yeah.
Coming in there was intimidating, to be honest with you.
For sure.
I had a lot of confidence, from when I was in the inner city, and then coming here, I was sort of humble in a
Mm.
way, in a way where, okay, well, where, what is this place?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I didn't have friends. I knew a couple of guys, and again through basketball,
Yeah.
right through basketball, and that's how it came to be. I
Yeah.
hung out with the basketball guys. I hung out with,
Yeah.
the athletes, and they get to know you once you start playing,
Yeah.
and I got through that because it was hard. Like, I was intimidated to go up to girls,
Yeah.
because I was different.
Yeah. For sure.
Culturally, it was different. Like, I didn't have that confidence in
Yeah.
myself to, hey, would this person actually think I'm interesting, right?
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
It was different.
Yeah.
But again, Coach K and with Randy and
Yeah.
clapping,
Yeah.
and obviously I had friends like, I don't know if you know Chris Lucas and
Of
Rob Tim
course.
and
Yeah.
all those guys. Even they had issues with me, in the
Yeah.
beginning. It was just
Yeah. Yeah. Who's
not
coming
right.
from the inner
So
city?
yeah. But I had met, Rob Tim was he was one of my boys from basketball as well.
Mhm, mhm.
He's definitely was right by my side the whole way. He's a big 6'4" guy,
Yeah. Yeah.
and he definitely was my bodyguard during those years. Uh,
Yeah.
I'll tell you a
Yeah.
story. Here's a story for you. So back in junior high, my buddies and I would for fun, we would go to Portage Place.
Yeah.
We'd hang out in the mall, after school hours, and we'd hang out at the third floor, right?
Yeah.
And just hang out, people watch, talk, whatever,
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever it is. So in my grade 10 year, I call up Rob Tim, 6'4" kid, and big. Hey, Rob, want to hang out? And I call him up, right? He goes, yeah, sure. Let's go. What do you want to do? Well, let's go. Let's go take the bus to go to Portage Place. Just hang out there. So he goes, okay, hang on. I'm going to ask my mom. So wait. So I hear him in the background, right? Mom, can I go out with Lenin? We're going to hang out at Portage Place for a bit. Are you crazy? You're not in the background, right? Here's the guy, 6'4", right? He's going, Mom's not having it. And I was like, on the phone, like, really? Like, what does she mean?
Yeah,
like,
why not?
It was a normal thing to do, right? Just hang out. And so, I didn't get that back in the day, right? I guess everyone thinks that downtown it's a pretty rough place, and no one's gonna want to hang out there. But that's that's what we did.
Yeah.
Right. And that was, I would never forget that, to this day. And here's a big guy. Like, God, are you scared to go downtown? Like,
yeah.
really?
Yeah. Well, but it highlights the different mentality. As you said, you felt weird going into that space because that shows the like how divided the city can be, and how areas can be really insulated. And I think that's what you're pointing out to here. It's just like, you're like, this is normal for me, and this guy's a big guy. What's a problem? And his mom's like, absolutely not. And that's for sure.
And it's one of those things that you just to this day, I remember telling you, we talk about it, we laugh at it all the time, right? But it's it is what it is. But but that's how it worked. And but to this day, Robbie's one of my best friends. Like I said, growing up, and so we there's lots of things that it's happened throughout that I think, like I said, basketball was the key to keeping me grounded, keeping me with 100%. Friendships. And it's awesome, right?
100%. Yeah, I think that's the power of, and again, you can probably say this about a lot of the other sports, but we're here talking about basketball, and like that's the power of basketball is it transcends, like, we just use that example of just the neighborhood, but then you talk about culture, you talk about country, like just all these things where if you play basketball and you're now playing, none of that really matters, because you can connect with anyone. It just breaks down barriers like crazy.
Exactly.
And I've had my own experiences with that same thing, whether it be other countries or just within the city itself. And that's why, like, basketball players, once you're playing it, like, you know, basketball players will have just like a diverse group of people, whether it be culturally, you know, different economic status. It doesn't matter, right? You have friends from all over.
Yes.
And that's what I love
Yes.
about the game so much.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
appreciate that so much. And sounds like, you know, you've had those same experiences kind of coming up.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
For sure.
yeah. Super
Yeah.
cool. So you mentioned Mr. German, who
Yeah.
essentially, you know, took you in, brought you out to Charleswood and said, meet
Yeah.
all these people. But you know, that was a pretty transformative time in your life, because you obviously
Yes.
saw a different world. But
Right.
then you also mentioned Coach Casano as well. So were there any other mentors, basketball mentors in your life, or was it mainly just the two of them? Or any other people that were pretty you know, important people in that journey? And you know, you can go beyond even into college, that were just kind of critical and keeping you on the right path, or even just introducing you to stuff about the game.
Right. You know what? Larry Markinson is someone that definitely, you know, was one of my guys that helped me through, because that's when I first graduated from teaching.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I went into Sargent Park. This man is, you know, the most selfless man that I know, anyways. You know, and we've coached together throughout since you know, when I first got there, and learned a lot of things from this man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I know he was inducted into the Hall of Fame, and you know, and rightfully so. You know,
Mm-hmm.
well deserved person to
Mm-hmm.
be doing that. And you know, he coached the girls program for such a long time. So when I got into Sargent Park, he's invited me, and you know, showed me sort of the ways of you know, how to coach girls.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you know, but he had the open mind to also, you know, had me provide input of the way things are going and so forth. And you know, how he's asked me, hey, what would you do when this happened? What would you do when that happened?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and he picked my brain a lot. And you know, and we worked well together. You know, you're talking about possibly up to 60 kids in the gym. You
It's
know, from
crazy.
grade 7, 8, 9, or even more at
Yeah.
times. You know, and I've never, you know, to this day, I can never, you know, compare him to others because of the time that he spent
Mm.
in the gymnasium, you know, with these students. Um, it was amazing. You know,
Yeah.
it's contagious, because you know, that's what I wanted. I've always wanted to give back. You know, from my upbringing with you know, with Mr. German, and you know, him taking me in. You know, I've always wanted to give back, and coach and do all that stuff. But this man, I'm telling you, you know, he's there at probably 7:30, maybe even earlier. He probably said, "Oh no, I was there at 6:30." I don't know. He knows the exact things that, you know, the exact time he goes, and he's so
Mm-hmm.
articulate about everything he does.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that made me go, "Whoa, this guy's, you know, something else."
Yeah,
Like,
he's
wow,
different, right?
he's
Yeah,
different.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, he's
yeah,
different.
yeah.
But you know, I've learned a lot from him. Like, man, you know, from um, his words of wisdom to, you know, things that I wouldn't think I do in drills, but for him, you can't say nothing because everything worked. Like, he's had championships after championships after that championships,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, that's one of the things that that make me go overall, you know, because I hear it all the time from other schools. Oh, that Sergeant Park, well, you know, they always get all the great players, they always
Mm-hmm.
get all the great athletes, they always get all this, right? No, that's one of the things that I can honestly say. The reasons why Sergeant Park is successful, or was successful, or is successful, is that there were coaches there. And I'm not just talking about Larry now, I'm talking about more of the times that I was there. During the times I was there were coaches that were fighting for gym times. There were coaches that wanted to
Mm-hmm.
be involved. There were
Yeah.
coaches who cared. There were coaches who wanted to get better. They wanted to see the development of these kids, and wants them to succeed. You know, and it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't for any clout. It wasn't for any of that. It was because um, it was right, like, for
Mm-hmm.
all the coaches to be together, and it was fun. Like, these are the best coaching times of my career.
Mm-hmm.
Right, you had Ryan Isfeld, you had Ralph Backay, you had Colin Mark, you know, and like, those guys were amazing. You know, and that's just basketball. You
Mm-hmm.
had Carolyn Boyd over there for volleyball. right? You know, Derek Potter, you had all these wonderful coaches that meant well. You know, so, you know, Ryan, sorry, I didn't want to forget anybody. Ryan Penner, you know, they were wonderful coaches who wanted to be there and cared about the kids. And that's what made Sargent Park, right? That's, you know, well, I shouldn't say that, but just I'm saying just as
Yeah, yeah,
part of a
of
student
course,
body
of
that,
course.
you know, when you look at all these athletes that come from there, it's, you know, they were developed, right? They
Mm-hmm.
weren't they
Mm-hmm.
weren't just given. Sargent Park wasn't given because
Yep.
all the gyms would be fought over. They spent limitless hours, unlimited hours of coaching, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and that's, you know, I give credit to those coaches, you know, and also having the, you know, that time, you know, we had the helm of Fatima Moda, who was our principal, you know, and she allowed this, right? Like she supported it. She was there all the
Mm-hmm.
time.
Mm-hmm.
She was,
Mm-hmm.
you know, supported her games, watched her games, and, you know, so it was a really good feel. Melody Wallachuk, she was a VP at that time, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and they you know, they embraced that community, you know, because we were in a lot of tournaments. You know, we you know, and then we can't go into a lot of tournaments unless we gets approved by admin. Like that's
Yep.
another thing, right? That people
Yep.
don't see behind the
Yep.
scenes, and you know, and they definitely advocated,
Mm-hmm.
you know, for this group. So
Mm-hmm.
it was nice to see, like I said, like that, all those group of people, you know, played a huge role, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
again, and it got contagious because we
Yeah.
wanted to do it,
Yeah.
right? And a lot of kids succeeded,
Yeah.
you know. So
100%. I think what
yeah,
you're speaking to is the how important it is to develop a program. And out at school,
yes,
whether it just be one team or in this case,
mm-hmm.
the entire school becomes the program. They prioritize athletics. They bring in quality coaches who care about developing the students as athletes,
Right,
as people. And then that's that like it's contagious, like you said, right? That creates that like that environment for the development. And it can be across sports even, right? If the
right.
volleyball program is really awesome and then you have an awesome basketball coach and like, okay, well, these athletes that are playing and all that are going to have this great experience and everything gets elevated.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's
yeah.
super important. I mean, you mentioned go ahead.
No, no, and you know, just to add on to that is the expectations from these
Mm,
coaches with academics. You
yeah,
know,
okay.
because if somebody was screwing around or not, you know, being up to their, you know, expectations of, you know, they'd hear it from all those other coaches.
Mm,
Because Sergeant Park is curious, so if they
yep.
know that one student who's supposed to be doing or not doing well, you know, other coaches would talk to them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you know, smarten up. You know, well, what do you need? What can we help
Yeah,
you?
yeah,
You know, are you
yeah,
struggling in math? Okay, well, let's go do this after school. Let's do this during lunch hour.
yeah.
You know, that's the other part, right? So it balances off.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it
Mm-hmm.
grounds them, it grounds the kids, and you know,
For
and
sure.
you know, and I think that's, you know, what I'm trying to say is, you know, with this whole thing is it's building that sense of community, and it's
Mm-hmm.
not just through the athletic world, right? That personal connection with all these students is huge,
Mm-hmm.
right? As long as everybody, and not just athletes, I'm talking about everybody in the school. You know, once we reach out to them and let them know that we're here,
Mm,
acknowledge them, that you know, we'll be here to, you know, have them successful in somewhat.
mm-hmm.
That's the key, right? And just being around and building that sense of community with everybody.
For
You
sure,
know,
for sure.
yeah.
So now I can hear you. Now I hear the principal talking in you. I was like, okay, we're now
But
I
it's
got the
huge,
principal.
though. But it's true.
A hundred
It's
percent, a hundred
true.
percent,
Like,
a hundred
you
percent.
know, like,
Yeah.
and that's the thing. Like, you know, I swear I've said this many times throughout my career. Acknowledging the person who doesn't talk much or who walks alone in the hallways
Mm-hmm.
like that, and just saying, "Hey, how are you doing?"
Mm-hmm.
You know, to them, "Oh, you're talking to me,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?"
You
Or did
change.
you actually notice me,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then you have that connection, and then you do that
For
every
sure.
day, right? For
For
all these
sure.
kids that don't get noticed because they
Yep.
are short,
Yeah.
because maybe they're not getting it at home. Who
Yeah.
knows,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So it comes a long way. No, for sure.
For sure.
That's important. That's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah. For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
You know who you also are reminding me of right now is Coach Cusano. I'm like, wait, am I talking to Coach Casano right now? This is amazing. So I wanted to, I mean, I love all that. I mean, again, like talking about that, just the culture. So I want to bring that back to your experience playing within the Oak Park basketball culture that Coach Casano and Klapik and they kind of designed for you guys and that experience. I know before we were recording, I said, hey, because you were talking, and I was like, oh, you graduated this time or whatever. You played with Chris. You're on that same team. You mentioned Todd McCullough, and you mentioned how it was tough. You guys were one of the top teams every year, but you weren't able to break through. But I'm sure you had some really, really great times. I want to just kind of open it up to ask a general question. Like, what are the memories that stand out about your time playing basketball at Oak Park?
That's a tough question. What stuck out? You know what? I think we were always sort of looked at as one of the better teams every year, right? And there's that pressure that came with it. And you know what? And just let's on the record, it wasn't Shasbury that got us the moving on. So we did beat them more times than we beat them during high school. So let's get that straight. However, we let's see, what would be the time?
Who got you though? Who are some of the teams that got you then?
Well, who got me? Us was Sisler. Man, I tell you, that's one of the memories that I will never forget.
So what was this? Provincial? Was it in the provincials, or were we talking
provincial quarterfinals?
Okay.
So this was in my grade 11 year. And, this was in the time that this happened was during, the quarterfinals, and it was at Brandon, was the Final Four, supposed to be the Final Four. Okay. And we've been ranked, I guess, pretty much number one the whole year. And that's the time we beat everybody. We beat Shasbury, we beat everybody, right? And we beat Sister by at least 20 each game we played them. We played them about 3 times throughout the year. Wow. So then quarterfinals comes around. We were up by 15.
No way.
In the last 3 minutes of the game. Up by 15, right? And from what I know, I don't know how much fact there was with this or truth, was apparently they already had our name in Brandon all made up and so forth. Welcome, the Final Four finalists or whatever.
No way.
I don't know how much truth there was there, but anyways, we played at home, right? So we were up by 15 points in the last 3 minutes. And somehow they had this crazy play where they try to go out of bounds and then they put it into their 6'8" Dennis Graybeck, and he'd be right on the basket and just put it in the basket. So they came back. Now shout out to Alan Alfonso. Remember that name? And I always tell this story to all my friends. Alan Alfonso. So anyway, so they ended up fouling us a lot, and we went into the line and we missed. We were about 3 for 16 from the line, all together collectively in the last 3 minutes. So their gamble paid off. And what happened was it came down to the last second. We were down. They caught up. We were down by 1, I believe. And so we called timeout. Coach Casano called timeout. Patrick drew up a play, right? So it was for Rob 10 to come screen for me. Then I go far deep. Somebody, I think Chris Lucas would screen for me. Rob Tim had to throw the bomb. I think there was 3 seconds left.
Yeah.
So he threw the play. The play worked well. I got open, but he threw the ball behind me. Right. So I had to come back and get it. So I got the ball still, and I went to the hoop, and then I see big Dennis Graybeck, 6'8" guy, right behind me. So I pump faked. And then he went boom, right? He tried to block me. He went by me, and I thought, okay, nice. No one else, right? So I just had a nice open layup. Nice open, just put the ball up. So I put it up, and it was already going in. I swear to God, I've never seen a guy. And somehow, Alan Alfonso, like I told you, remember that name? Yeah. Comes out from nowhere, jumped high. I've never seen him jump so high. I bet you to this day he'll tell you, if ever you see this guy, he's never jumped so high in his life. And he swatted me. It wasn't like a swat off the hand and he goes. Yeah. It was already in the air. Right? Yeah, so it was and everyone thought it was going in. Everyone thought we won. But this guy just came out from nowhere and just reached just almost like a goaltend type, but it didn't call goaltend, but just swatted it out. And then they win the game.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my gosh. And to this day, that story, I tell my friends all the time, and how did you guys lose and this and that? But it's collectively we choked. That's all. Yeah, I was gonna say.
So is this like you said? I think this is where the choke part came from.
No, I don't know. it's always been. 3 years at Oak Park, and we've never won a championship. The times that and we've been, ranked number one the whole year, pretty much all 3 years, or one or two, or whatever. But that I will never forget. And we were just, after the game, we were just like, wow, like how? But,
wow. So that's like a memory that stands out at your time at Oak Park for sure.
Oh yes, that hurts my heart. Man, hurts my heart to this day. Like I remember, I remember the scene. That's one thing I can picture clearly.
It's embedded.
It's embedded. Like Sisler. But they had like, to give them the credit, they had Rob Taylor, they had Dennis Grayback, they had I believe John Bagnus. I think they had Marlin at that time. Alan Alfonso. So they're 6'8", 6'7".
So they're a big team.
Big team.
Yeah.
I believe they had another 6'6" team, 6'6" guy there.
Yeah.
They had some good guards too. They had Ronnie Arnold.
Yeah.
I believe at that time, and Paul Grant was on that team.
Nice.
So a lot of good guys.
Nice.
Solid.
Well, like suffice to say, obviously you guys had a good team. When I talked to Coach Cassano, I opened up the podcast by saying that my memory of Oak Park, as far as when I played, is that everyone hated you guys, right? And he was like, yeah, you know what? He's like, it's funny you say that because that's what I wanted at the time. He's like, I wanted us to be hated. I knew, and it's, if you go back and listen to Coach Cassano's podcast, he goes on to say that there was things that he, like would have done differently. You get wiser as you get older and stuff. But he said at the time, he literally said, he's like, yeah, that's what we wanted. I wanted that because I knew, and then we talked about some of these things as well. But interestingly enough, I mean, again, like that, the Choke Park thing, even when I graduated in 2001, and that was around then, and even a bit after that, like it kind of stuck for a while. But now, obviously, Coach Cassano went on and won more than one, so he got that monkey off his personal back.
Yeah, exactly.
So exactly. So I'm sure a lot of Oak Park people like yourself celebrated when you saw Coach Cassano win his first one, right? So
for sure. No, because they work so hard, right? Like I mean, and again, going back to that his leadership in a way where he gets the guys together. He prepares them well, but it comes down to the players in the end too, right? To be able to perform, and as much pressure he has on his back, it really boils down. He can only say so much because I'm a coach and I do the same thing. Right?
Yeah, I know exactly. It's like
it's collective. So
100%. Yeah, coaching is an interesting one for sure.
Yeah.
So obviously after that, I mean, we talked in the intro, you were all Manitoban, so you obviously were a good high school player. Like I said, Coach Cassano literally talks about you like, again, I've not seen you play in high school. I think I saw some of the greatest games. I think there's a few that Basketball Manitoba puts up. I've definitely seen you out there, but you went on to play University of Manitoba. You won a GPAC award. You went on to obviously transfer as well for a year. But tell us about kind of what that was like going from high school. Why'd you go to U of M, and what it was like there? Because what year did you graduate, Lenin?
94.
Sorry, 94. Okay,
1994. Yeah.
And then did you go right out of high school? You went to U of M?
Yeah, right out of high school. I had I could have gone to Brandon as well. So Brandon and U of M recruited me. So because Coach K was there, Coach Cassano was there, and definitely was a plus. Was a big factor for me. And it's local, right? Yeah. And it's there. So I ended up playing there for a couple of years. Definitely was a lot learning new year for the first year. I was a pretty solid team that first year. We had Daryl Baptiste, Elliot Unger, we had Greg Philman at the time, and he was on his last year. We had John Hannick, Zach Hirschman, Mark Virgo, Paul Weeks. Trying to think of some other guy. Daryl Baptiste, I think I already said, but there were some really good players that came. Dennis Grayback, Darren Slobodian. That was a solid team, and to be, playing behind, I think, Greg Philman and Daryl Baptiste, I was, it was definitely a challenge, right? For myself in my first year. And, I learned a lot. I learned a lot from those guys. And, as you know, the physical stature as a small man is, goes against you, right? But, I held my own, and learned a lot. So, practicing with those guys in my first year and really, being humbled in an area where, these guys are really good and tall. Definitely something that, I got to play maybe about, I don't know, 10 minutes in my first year. But it was a lot of talking to Cassano too, getting feedback from him. So, and I worked hard. I worked hard in my first year. I can't say about academic wise, but I can say basketball wise, I tried to work more harder. So, because I did get into, in your first year, I actually moved out on my own. Okay. I lived with my brother actually during those years, and there's let's just say there was a lot of extracurricular things happening during my first year of university. So, but it was fun. I don't regret it one bit because it's what makes you better of a person, right? Learning different things. But definitely on the basketball court, I learned a lot. Like I said, about systems, about my individual skills, and I wanted to get better. So and then I took that upon myself, to get better, to get in the gym, to do skill work, and to do so forth. And and I think it paid off in the second year, right? And that's when I had given the opportunity to start, and I made the most of that, right? So and that's when I became more successful at the game, and given an opportunity to to show what I can do. I wasn't the best player, like I wasn't the it's hard, as the shortest guy on the team, and but I worked hard. I worked hard and made sure I facilitated, and I supported my teammates. Got the ball to the guys that we need to get the ball to. Played hard defense. And like I said, you hear a lot of good things about me, but it's not. It's more of my work ethic, and it wasn't necessarily the super talented guy that you would see in whatever. Like I did everything good, right? Like in a way where you're not going to see me as a crazy scorer or as a crazy whatever. One thing is I was a crazy defender. That's one thing I can say, right? Everything else was sort of whatever, that's how I looked at myself, right? Okay. Like no matter what I did offensively, I told myself I'm going to be a crazy defender where I can cause havoc for anybody, right? So that was my mentality, because I knew I wasn't dunking on guys, or I wasn't gonna shoot over a 6'5" guy who I normally had to guard, right? Like and so forth. So I did my piece. I knew I wasn't the best guy all the time. I tried to make the best of myself, right? The best I knew how. So and that's what it was. Like I wouldn't, to be honest with you, I don't consider myself as the well, I mean, there's those stories out there get blown up, right? So
yeah. Well, I mean, like again, I get it. While you were talking, I'm thinking of like all the other, because let's be honest here. Like, I mean, you started off the podcast and we talked about the provincial team, and what'd you say? Hey, we're not the biggest team, and that goes a long way, because like everyone who plays basketball understands that like height matters, So when you're a shorter player, you do have to bring a certain level of effort, tenacity, that a taller player just doesn't have to bring to be on the court. And that's just honest, right? Like we all know that. And you can also only have a certain amount of shorter players. And so when you're that shorter player, there's a lot of expectations of you to work harder than other players, to do things that other players aren't going to do. And so I totally know that, because I was playing and having shorter players on the team. You're already at a disadvantage. However, when it comes to playing full court defense and things like that, you're actually at an advantage, because the ball is actually on the ground, right? So you have an advantage in that, and so you have to maximize that part of your game. Otherwise, you're so that I totally know where you're coming from there for sure. But Lenin, so you played the 2 years at U of M. You met the second year you were a GPAC All-Star. I think you're a second team. But then I think you even, I don't know if you took a year off and you transferred to Brandon, and like obviously Brandon during those times were like super very successful team. So like maybe tell us a little
Yes.
bit why you transferred, and
Yeah.
then how was it? I mean, going from those situations, because you only played 3 years of college, right? Did you play anything after
Yeah.
that? Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, no, it's 3 years.
Yeah. So what led to the transfer, and then how was it going playing in Brandon for that year?
So yeah, I mean, coach from Brandon, Jerry Hemmings at the time, was always really an advocate for myself. I think he really liked my game and so forth. Like, like I said, he tried to recruit me from high school, and
Mhm.
and truthfully too, my academics weren't the best after that year, and then I had to sit a year off, if
Got it.
anything,
Hmm.
right? So Hemming showed interest that, hey, why don't you just come here for the next years, right? And I looked at their roster, and I was like, oh, because they're every year they're well represented, right,
Hmm.
in
Hmm.
the CIS world. So, and I looked, and he just pretty much convinced me that, what, this is the school for you, and you're going to do well with all these guys that we had here,
Hmm.
and you'll fit in well, and this and so forth. So I ended up going for it, right? I ended up going there, learned the system, but unfortunately, and this is I hate talking about this, because so during that transition year, that summer that I was supposed to go to Brandon, I break my ankle. So
Um,
I ended up going through physio pretty much the first part of the Brandon year. Trying to rehab, trying to get back into it, and for myself, that was my strength. My strength was my quickness,
hmm.
right? Like, that's as a small guard, as a strength, that I had. And now you're struggling to get back into it, doing those rehabs and so forth. So I never really got into the groove at Brandon,
Mm,
like in
mhm,
regards to playing level of where I wanted to play,
mhm,
right? And it was hard, like going there, because you didn't know anybody again, and you're living with with different guys, and different atmosphere, and there's a very competitive atmosphere,
mhm,
right? But at the same time, and then I ended up breaking my pinky too during that time.
mm,
So it was just one after another. This is a bad year, like, of getting being healthy, right,
mhm,
and trying to get back to where you want it to be, you know. So, but otherwise, aside from that, though, on a positive note, that's where I took my academics seriously.
got it. Yeah, yeah,
That's when I smartened up,
yeah.
and from doing what I did to really working hard on my academics, I ended up with like a almost what it was a almost a 4.0 average,
Mhm,
during the time that I stay there. So, and that's where I graduated from, because I did another summer of, actually that was after, but during that time, that's, where I smartened up and did better in my academics.
mhm,
Right.
mhm.
But basketball wise, I never got to where I thought I, could get back into,
Got it.
and that's when I said, what, screw this. I'm just gonna, because I had, my my stepmom ended up passing on. We had to bring her to the Philippines,
Mm,
her body to the Philippines, and that's when all that stuff started happening. With well, I decided to go there because what, I had some people that knew about the professional basketball league over there,
mhm, mhm,
and then I ended up going there after, and checked that out. So I ended up just training for the year and went over there,
mhm,
right,
mhm,
and played there. So but yeah, so I mean, Brandon was it was an unfortunate year, and I did a lot
mhm,
of growing up there too, like a lot noticing what is right, and did some, I had to make some decisions that I wasn't proud of, to
mm,
be honest with you, because you get into the sort of mental aspect of the game, and
mhm.
whether you're playing to your capability, and that's part of the other thing about being an elite athlete, right? Like, your mind plays with you,
Oh yeah.
right? And if you can't do the things that you used to do, you go, oh man, what the heck,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Especially after injury and so forth, and you're going, what the hell is going on? So, you sort of reevaluate yourself.
Mhm,
Hey, what can I do to get better? And that's what I've always said to myself, right? I'm not going to go out there till I redevelop myself and get better at what I do, you know.
mhm,
So, and that's what I did for a whole full year. Just worked out hard, and found opportunity at, in the Philippines to get better there. So, yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting though, that injuries can really, they really change the trajectory of where you go. But I think the people that I see succeed the most in life are the people who hit those moments and it challenges them, and then they accept the challenge, right? And then they find out something about themselves through that challenge.
Yes.
And it sounds like
Yes.
that's what your experience was.
Yeah. No, for sure. Definitely happened. Yeah.
And so you said, you mentioned you graduated from Brandon. So did you get your teaching diploma there as well? Like you've graduated?
Yeah, I got my general diploma there, Bachelor of General Studies, and then I ended up going back to U of M.
Okay.
So after I got back from the Philippines, I ended up doing an after degree for education, right? And that's when I did what's called a weekend program, and I did it for 2 straight years of in the weekends, because I ended up working as an educational assistant during those years. And man, it was grueling.
I can imagine.
Not having the weekends for the next 2 years was rough.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But hey, I wanted to get it done. Start my career off. That was something that I've always wanted to do.
Yeah.
Something from junior high, I wanted to be a phys ed teacher. That was something that I wanted to pursue, and I did. And there was a lot of definitely checking myself of how much do you want to succeed, and so forth. So a lot of things that and a lot of guidance as well from, again, Mr. German, of figuring out what's next and so forth, of where my journey was going, right? Because I don't know if if he wasn't around, it'd be pretty tough, because there was always that check-in, right, of where I'm going next, right? Because like I said, I didn't grow up with parents here except for him, right? And Carol German, who's my mom, my his wife. So both of them always put in my ear, right? So what are you doing next? Okay, what can we do to help? So there's always that piece that was important, right? And so that's So, and I ended up receiving my after degree program at U of M, and then I became a teacher and went on to Sargent Park as my first.
Nice. So that's I mean, you've kind of come full circle. I mean, we opened up the podcast. I said, what was your first memory of basketball? And you said, well, Mr. German. And then now you're sitting here, a coach, a mentor, guiding people. So talk to me. I mean, you mentioned obviously your time at Sargent Park and the guidance there. You're now coaching the provincial team, right? And so you've gone through the club teams, the provincial teams, and like you've done all this stuff, and you now have to get to impact many people, I'm sure, right, through your experience being that leader. But what was it that brought you to coaching? Did you know that, like, hey, like when you were figuring out things and kind of finishing up your playing career, did you know already, like, oh, I'm gonna coach? Or did someone just say, hey, come on, coach? Or were you the teacher and they're like, hey, we need a coach who
no,
oh, you coach basketball? What was that transition like?
No, I knew I've always wanted to coach, because I've always wanted to be involved in, because that, for me, that was a way of connecting in a different light to students, right? As an educator, I've always wanted to connect. I've always wanted to, and to see kids succeed, right? And you know what? And I look at back in the day, and I know I didn't say much about the provincial team, but Mr. Martin, Scott Martin, he's still, to this day, around. He's still coaching.
He was your coach? One of your coaches?
Yeah, he was my coach as well.
Goodness.
And you know what? He's always been, somebody that I definitely look up to as well. We joke around, all that stuff all the time. Every time we see each other, and we reminisce a lot. But he's definitely played a role in that, wanting to be a coach, right? And I've come, like, there's a lot of coaches. I've had Dale Bradshaw, also coached the provincial team. Dave Gus. Who else? There's Clapic. I don't think Clapic coached me during that time, but I think those are Scott Martin. Oh, Taylor was also another one that was coaching with Scott. It's seeing those. I was fortunate to have those coaches in front of me that I learned from. And I always look at them and I go, did they do, that piqued my interest? What do they do as drills, as, as people, as, so I take little bits and pieces, obviously from Casano and Clavic, and how can I make it my own? Right. I always look at those, and, no matter what, and that's why I'm sort of, at any time there's an opportunity for me to share things that I know, and whether it's a drills, whether it's what to do in these scenarios and so forth, I'm always open to them, right? Like I'm always, hey, just come by to practice anytime, just come watch my practice, because sharing is important.
Yeah.
There's no secrets. Like, what's the secret? You want to develop everybody.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
I'm pretty sure I got this drill from this person, but then I modified it into my own, and all these little things come from ideas, right? And that's important. That it's not cheating. It's it's collaborating. It's making each other better. It's developing other people to making themselves better, right? Because you don't want like a super copycat where he's not going to do everything the same. They're not. It's not possible. Practice plans can't be exactly the same. Like they will make it their own and somewhat, moving forward. It's not gonna, they're not gonna steal things. Because a lot of people keep their things and be private. I don't want to share this because that's why we grow the game of basketball, to learn from each other. Right. And that's why I love, what Basketball Manitoba does is they have a whole bunch of different library of drills and so forth, right? And if somebody wants to become a coach, hey, there it is. Right? You start off from somewhere and make your own, of different things. So I mean, it's important.
For sure. Well, I mean, you kind of touched on it a little bit, but I want to ask you directly, what are some of your like main coaching philosophies when you start a team? There's some non-negotiables of things that you expect of your players and of your teams.
One thing is unity, right? That's a non-negotiable. Non-negotiable is, you have to be able to play with each other when you step on the court. Right. But that's building the community in your team. That's building, wanting to get to know each other, wanting to connect, wanting to know what the best thing is to do for each other, and to make it ourselves successful, right? To win games. You have to know your role. You have to know what it is that you can do. And that's the thing. Like, for me, I don't want to limit for my non-negotiable is I don't want to limit my players. I will never limit players in what they can do. Right? You show me what you can do. So that's why, because before there's some coaches who says, don't shoot, to the kids or whatnot. But how do you, at this level, like, how do you know that they're not great shooters, or how, you have to let them be. Right. And obviously in the later stages, there you can sort of, but in a different way, not, don't shoot. So my philosophy is, when you're open, when you take good shot, you have to take good shots, not forced shots. And if you take a forced shot, it better be going in, or you're going to hear it from you. Right? So those are the things of because I always encourage my kids, especially at this level, if you're open, shoot the ball. Or but you got to be able to read. You got to read the situations of where everybody is, and is it the best shot? Is it not the best shot? So all those things, but again, you teach them that, though. It's not given to them.
Yes.
You have to show them of scenarios, right? Of if you drive here, these guys will be open if this guy commits. So already you're a step ahead, or two ahead before you make those moves, right? Or that drive to the basket, or that shot. And so and again, being a team player is huge, right? That's a non-negotiable. Again, I said, first building that community of trust, of liking each other and wanting to play with each other, and secondly, just being a team player. So negotiables are the other things of what they want to do, right? Like to develop themselves. Those are the things. I mean, and you have those conversations. What do you want to do? What do you want to be? What do you want to? Do you want to be a point guard? At this age, it's hard because some of them are maybe shooting guards or 2 or 3s, but or 4s or 5s, where there'll be 1s in the next level.
You don't know.
Right. 100%. But again, there's no more 5s, right? Like, so it's really 1 through 4.
But
and that's one thing that it's hard because when you know that there's potential in others when they're fours now, and because they're the biggest person on the team, you know, it's tough, you know, and you have to make them do all the drills. And that's one thing that I regret, you know, before, and I don't know if you remember this, well, I'm sure you do. What did the coaches teach back in the day when you're doing a left-hand layup?
What did they teach?
Yeah.
Like, you mean footwork wise?
So what's a general rule of thumb when you're doing a layup? What foot do you go off of?
Oh, you jump off. Yeah, you jump off like your opposite foot.
You jump off with the opposite foot.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So what about these days?
Well, now you teach you everything, really. You jump off this foot, that foot, this hand, this. There's no like, yeah.
Right. So games evolved, and that's what I liked. And you know, I'm going to be honest with myself. Like there's times where I always, why are you stepping off with your right foot and your what are you doing, right? So now you have the Kyrie's moves, going same hand, same foot. And, you know, it's evolved. It's definitely evolved, and I like it. You know, like because before you got hecked for doing showboat moves.
True.
Right. Back in the day though, now, right? Like now, like I'm teaching different things, floaters and reverse layups,
right? All sorts of stuff,
Euro steps and all these things, right? As a coach, so those things, like you know, I try to implement, you know, in the games, and now we've just implemented alley-oops, right, for the teams, right? Like we've never. How are you gonna? I was just talking to Dan about this actually, Dan Becker, and you know, it's something that we're implementing now because there's guys that can do it, and that's stepping their level, right? Their high level of playing, and it helps the point guards too, or even the guards of tossing that proper pass. If you don't teach it, they're not gonna learn. Right. So for those kids who want to move up to the next level or have that opportunity, they should have those skills, right? If they go up to the next level. Because you know when you get to that next coach, you've never thrown an alley-oop before, or you never went up for an alley-oop, you were never taught that, like you know. And then I get a little bit, you know, I'll get offended because that wasn't taught because before it would be looked at showboating or whatever, but really it's part of the game.
Exactly.
You look at the NBA when you look at
it's a skill.
It's a skill. So teach it. Right. So that's the thing that we start implementing, you know, and it's good right now because right now I'm coaching with Paulo Cuejo.
Yeah, nice.
You know, so he's brought a lot of things to the table as well. You know, when we communicate with each other, and you know, I had him. You know, I did ask him to coach with me because I think we have similar views, and he's very passionate about the game. And those are the things that we talk about, right? Like, why not teach us? Like, and you know, there's times where we make up drills. During the you know, the practices, or during the times that we talk the day before practice. You know, what can we do to do this? So we like to sort of make things up as, you know, from part of our offense or part of things that we need to do, have the kids improve. So, you know, I give him a shout out too, because he does a really good job of, you know, getting, you know, seeing different things that I don't see.
Nice.
You know.
So who else is on your staff? Is it just the two of you?
No, that's it. We just have one assistant coach. And,
nice.
And I know one guy that I also want to give a shout out that I haven't really mentioned is John Kyogi, because he was my head coach. I was an assistant coach to him back in the day. So he asked me. I was privileged enough to. He was a friend of mine as well, and so he asked me, "Len, you want to coach this?" You know, I think it was 15U, 14U. I forget, back in the day. And so, yeah, for sure, you know. And so I ended up, you know, being an assistant, and you know, that's when I just came back from the Philippines, I believe, like 1 or 2 years after coming back from the Philippines. And you know, he definitely, you know, showed me the way, you know, of what he knew during that time, and so it was fun. It was fun coaching with him.
Nice. Yeah. So it's I really like what you said though when I asked you about the philosophies with regards to like the non-negotiables. Okay, you know, being a team player and playing within the thing, but at this level specifically, I love what you said there. The negotiables are about, okay, well, we want to allow them to show us what they can do, and then in the framework of them showing us what they can do, now we have teachable moments. All right. So when the guy drives into 3 guys, like, hey, maybe the drive was good, but the decision after wasn't, right? And now you can teach. But if you limit anyone from like not shooting or shooting, you can't even teach them because they're so young. They need to make the mistake and then make the adjustment or learn from it. So I love that you said that, because that's such a key thing. If you limit them from the start, then you never actually know if this person has that skill, because they're never able to even express it. And so,
and just at this age level, 15U,
Yeah.
right? And that's the thing. And you know, and I hate to say this, but it's fact, right? Like, and as you're talking about the shorter guys that's on the team, right? Like they do well, and you know, I hate to say this for Filipinos in general, right? We do so well in the junior high levels in the early stages, and then the height catches up to them in high school, right? And so you have to be able to evolve. You have to be able to do little things. That you know, that's huge. And I hate to say that because I'm for my people. I'm for my, you know, like that. I want them to succeed so much, do so well, but the height does become you know, a factor of moving on in. But not just the height, but also those decision making that we're talking about, right? What are you gonna do? What's that certain thing that you can do better to you know, to be able to evolve your game? Now you got to show something because you know your height's going against you already. What are you going to do? Right. So
100%. Yeah, you're bang on. Like, you know, to the shorter players or the shorter Filipino players, the ones that do move on is because they do have something about them that is like expanded beyond what the norm would be, right? Like you said, whether it's just decision making, facilitating, well, in some cases just pure scoring. In a lot of cases pure scoring. You see a lot of just guys are explosive scorers, but again, tenacity, just like an energy, effort level, all those things need to be there, for sure. And so to your point, I mean, that's but allowing them to explore and get better in those areas and teaching, that's the key. Huge. Right? And so
because you have to have that confidence. That's the thing for me. For me, a non-negotiable for myself, I have to give them confidence. Like there's like my players have to have confidence to do what they do. You know, like that's for me. I can never, you know, I can scold them, but talk to them after, right? Like I could never just leave it be. I shouldn't say scold, but I would, you know,
give them some criticism and
and that's the thing that I tell them straight up. I say, you know what, if I'm not talking to you, if I'm not telling you things, if I'm not communicating with you, then I'm a bad coach. So don't take that personally. If I talk to you, you know, start worrying if I don't talk to you, right? Or start worrying if I don't say anything to you, because then I'm not doing you a favor.
100%. Yeah.
So
that's exactly it. Well, we're coming close to the end, so I always like finish the podcast with a few things. So first one is just going to be a direct question. You can answer however you want, whatever comes to mind. So it's 2 questions, answer either one. So the first one is, you can tell us your most memorable basketball story. Now, this doesn't have to be, it can be anything related to basketball, a road trip, a specific play. You already mentioned the one Sisler, so you can't say that. Or you can say your funniest basketball story, or both, if you'd like, if you have a story for both. So most memorable or funniest.
Most memorable or most funniest. Sheesh.
It can be as a coach. It could be on a road trip. It can be during a game. It can just be a general sense of things. I mean, some people have said, hey, this entire season that I had from this year was memorable. They tell us why, you know.
You know what, I think my most memorable ones would be University of Manitoba. We would go on road trips, right? So this is more of a funny one. Just, you know, we would play different games. And it would be, I don't know if it's silly games, but it developed that camaraderie. I would say we would wrestle on the bus. We would wrestle in the rooms, and we would play a game called Flick, like just flicking on the forehead. And it would be so bad that the next day the players would have big welts on their foreheads. And the coach would ask, what the heck were you guys doing? You know, it would just be stupid games like that. But, you know, we look forward to it because we were young and foolish, and we just wanted to have fun. You know, it was something that, you know, I know it's not probably the best story, but it was funny. It was something that, you know, stuck out for myself. It's because it's definitely developing that again camaraderie thing with everybody, right? And I know it's a weird way of showing it. Now you'd be like, hey, what are you guys doing?
But
it is what it is.
I think like for you, but back then that was like probably some of your first real like traveling, getting on those buses and going to other cities and stuff, right? So it's probably pretty memorable times for you.
But
I
but
remember some of those bus trips too. So,
but I do also want to mention that one guy that looking back of just for the Filipino community, one guy I do want to mention is he's already known in the Filipino community as well, is Manny Ranyas. Is because he's playing in those NABA trips and FBA trips. That's one guy who definitely made the basketball Filipino community bigger. That's because like I said, we started traveling on our own to NABA, just a bunch of players going there. So Manny is the one that really made a structure of the whole program and created something really positive. That got sponsors and got people involved to be able to make those happen, to make it easier for the players, where players don't have to do anything and they just went and played. Right. And that's what we wanted. So, shout out to Manny, because he's done such a great job of doing that.
Yeah.
To this day,
I got to interview him. He was, it was cool. Yeah.
Yes. So he's definitely a big figure that, that I would give a shout out to as well.
Yeah. And you were saying to this day, are you guys, he's still doing it though.
Yes. No, yeah, he's doing it. And one thing that I did mention, because I think you asked me about if I coach. I did coach last summer for the Philippine Canada national team for the Filipinos that competed in the Philippines for the best.
Okay. Oh, so you were the coach. Yeah, because he was telling me about that when I interviewed him, that it was such a big thing. He was really excited about it, but like obviously it hadn't happened yet. So you coached that team.
Yeah. So I coached that team. It was the 19U team. And during these times, my son unfortunately played. He was coaching there too. My son was on the team, so it was a nice feel, for all of us to go there with all these great players. And we did well. Unfortunately, we lost like a couple of close games.
Yeah.
But I was an assistant coach, by the way. So, and we did at that time, and we did well. But it was we just came up short. Against other teams. There were really good teams over there, but it was definitely a great experience, playing against the best college players from the Philippines. And, so it was fun. It was fun.
Yeah. No, that's cool. It was a really cool. And I remember when I interviewed, he was telling me about that and how excited he was. And I think that's what you're mentioning, this team. Is this not connected to the team that's practicing with you in some regard? Or is that
very similar, because so now I'm coaching the Vegas team as well, the 18 Vegas team, and that's the one in mid-July, where we're going to compete against the other best teams from North America that are Filipinos, and then they will choose some players from there to represent the national team in the Philippines.
Yes.
Okay. So if there are worthy players to choose.
That's really cool. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, so it's neat.
Well, basketball in the Philippines is a whole other beast. I've been fortunate to go there for an event. I don't know how many years, 3 years ago now, and it was. I mean, just I actually went into like some neighborhoods, and like it's crazy. Like there's hoops everywhere and people playing. They just love the game so much. It's and obviously I knew that growing up in Winnipeg, like how important it was. But I got to go to the Philippines to a basketball event, and it was just like crazy, just like the passion for the game, and it's cool to see that kind of connections being made to Filipinos living in North America. And then having those connections to the Philippines is like really cool, because it's always been there through families and stuff, but having like a more of official relationship, that's really cool.
Right. Yeah, sure.
So okay, so last question here is going to be a bit of advice. So I like to frame the question this way. So and you've maybe already found yourself in this position, but essentially just imagine now, you are a provincial team coach, you have all these experiences, you've coached, you're sitting in a room with a bunch of other coaches, young coaches, right? People just like when you were first starting, or even people who are, in high school and they're coaching club stuff now. And you want them to walk away out of that meeting with you, or out of that presentation, just remembering a few things, right? Because they're not going to remember everything. You could talk for an hour, they're not going to remember all that. So what would be some of the advice that you'd give to those coaches that you would specifically want them to remember? It could be one thing, it could be three things, but what would you really want them to take away with regards to them being coaches and now mentoring other people?
I think it's important to really know and care about your players. Get to really know them and their weaknesses, their strengths, their challenges, really understand that. Because if you don't, then you're just going through the motions of being a coach. So you really have to individually understand their game and where you want them to go, right? And where they want to go, right? So really having that, and providing them feedback, because that's important, of where they're at and where they want to go, together collectively. They have to have that communication with them. I think the other thing that would be important is to learn. You have to be a learning coach, to be able to grow. You have to do your due diligence. And if you really want to be a really, if you're going to coach for a long time, you need to do your due diligence and learning, right? From others, from, other resources, whether it's videos, books, whatever you feel that, is necessary to, and modify it yourself and make it your own, right? And really learn the game. Because there's, if you don't know the game, if you don't know what to work on, you have to get something, right? You have to find out for yourself. You can't just say, oh, I'm going to do this myself. On your own. Unless you have a really, really great experience, especially those ones that don't have the game experiences, right? As a coach, coaching is for everybody, right? It's for everybody, but it's how you want to improve yourself, right? You have to learn more by seeing other coaches, by seeing other, drills, by seeing other ways of dealing with situations and so forth, right? And knowing the why. You have to know the why, right? You have to know the why. Why are you teaching? There's lots of, and that's why I sort of differentiate different coaches. Coaches can just say, okay, do this drill, okay, to the kids, do this drill. And then they'll do the drill. Do the kids actually know why they're doing the drill?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Well, no, seriously, because you found it at YouTube, because you saw somebody else do it. Yeah. So no, you're doing things for a purpose, right? So you do these drills for a purpose. You don't just do it for the sake of doing it because you saw somebody do it and you think it's cool. No, because it's something, again, there's a lot of clout people, right? I'm doing this because I saw it at a clinic. I'm going to do it now. Yeah. But are you doing it for a purpose? Is it going to improve your team? Is it going to improve the players' development, right? So when you choose those drills that you're going to do, you have to explain it to the players why they're doing it, right? So those are the things that, that sticks out to me, moving for the next coaches is, those are important to me.
Yeah. I think you said it's care about the players, know what they want. You talked about improving knowledge, right, and understanding the game, and then just lastly, the why of it all, right? Why are you executing this drill? And that translates onto the players themselves, right? If you tell them why they're doing a drill, and then when you later ask them why they drove this way, they understand the why is important, right? Because the why is super, super important. A lot of times I think I love that one, because a lot of times people are just acting without understanding the why. And then you ask them, they're like, oh, I never thought about that. And you're like, oh, okay. And you as the coach have to provide that guidance, right? So I love that. It's perfect advice. Perfect way to wrap up the podcast. It's been a pleasure hearing your story. Now I have more than just Coach Cassano's voice saying Lenin, and I can I know you. I know kind of what you got to this point, and more importantly, the thing that I love about this format is I know what you stand for, and that's cool, because now when I see you, I'm like, oh, there's Lenin, and I know what you stand for. You know what I mean? I know what your philosophies are. I know why you're doing it, which is really cool. So I appreciate you coming on the podcast and sharing all that.
Yeah, no, thanks, Darcy, for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. All right. We'll take care, and good luck the rest of summer.
Thanks.
Perfect.
All right.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. Please like, subscribe, follow, and share this series, and reach out to us with your comments on the show. Thanks again for joining us.